morning, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Cheryl. I am your host, Cheryl Lacey Donovan, and I am so excited to be here with you this morning. And I have a very special guest with me here today. Her name is Julia Keys, and she is the author of The Man Script. So, The Man Script is the ultimate guide to surviving and thriving during and after experiencing infidelity. Julia wrote this book with her best friend, Jackie Coles, because they believe that there is a script of infidelity. It's repeated time and time again, and this book will help you identify the man script. Julia, thank you and welcome to Conversations with Cheryl.
Oh, thanks so much, Sharon. Good morning, everybody. So pleased to be with you.
Absolutely. So, listen, tell us how you guys came about writing the book, The Man Script, because that's an interesting topic and an interesting school of thought.
Yeah. Well, both Jackie and I were nurses. We met each other when we were 16 years of old age. We were working in a record shop together, and we both followed a career in nursing. Jackie stayed in nursing, and I, over 20 years ago, decided I wanted to actually be a therapist, but we still always remain friends. And about back in 2016, we both were talking about the subject of being cheated on and just how devastating that actually made you feel and the effects of it. So together we decided we would start to write a book. And I know through my own professional work that I've sat with many women and some men as well. And I kept thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I keep hearing the same story here. The same things are being said. The same criticisms are being, being attacked. And so we thought, okay, something needs to be done about this. We need to actually help people to see the signs so that they don't feel that they're going mad.
Wow, that is amazing. Because you're right, I work a lot with women as well, and this is a subject that comes up repeatedly, and it can be, it can really, really be a difficult subject to deal with, especially when you're talking about the emotional fallout. So
Yeah.
when you're working with other people, other women about the manuscript and about the infidelity, what are some of the things that you tell them to help them to deal with that emotional fallout?
Well, first and foremost, Cheryl, one of the key things that they are told is that it's all in their head.
Mm.
And, oh, you didn't see that. I didn't do this. You're going mad. It's all in your mind. Always offloading, projecting the blame onto them. And I always say, no, 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 don't go there. You've got to get strong within yourself and say, look, you're not stupid. You're not going mad. You are seeing things. There's a change in the behavior. Something is changing and you're not getting the answers that you want. You might be on the receiving end of some defensive attitude, which is always 9 times out of 10, it's attacking you. And once you feel attacked, it develops that sort of mistrust within yourself. And then you're not sure whether you are going mad or not, because it sort of turns you into this Poirot detective, whereby you've got to find out the truth, because you do genuinely feel the longer it goes on, that you very well could be going mad and imagining it all. So we are so determined with the book to say, no, this is part of the script. This is part of the way that person wants you to put you off the trail, put you off the track. So you do start to take responsibility for it yourself. And it's one of the things that we encourage women and, men as well, if they're the ones that they're suspecting or being cheated on, that they actually say, no, hang on a second. I know what I can see. I know what I can feel. And that gut feeling is something they should never ignore.
Wow, and that is so true. And you're right. Oftentimes we see the red flags, but we ignore them because we
Yeah.
don't want to believe what we're seeing. We would rather believe that this person who has claimed to love me really does love me and would never do anything to hurt me. And when in fact, that's exactly what's going on. And one of the things that I run into a lot is the actual impact that all of the lies and deceit has on not only the individual but the family as a whole. So,
Yeah.
what do you see as some of the impact that these lies have on the person and the family?
Yeah. I think it's really hard, Cheryl, when it comes down to the sort of the infidelity within a family unit, because invariably you're sort of wanting to hold it together for the children. You know, I said, no, everything's fine, we're all okay, everything's going to be okay. And in actual fact, if you can't, this also depends on what the situation is. If you found out your partner's cheating on you, and there is a chance that you really want to reconcile and work through it and come out the other side, then hopefully and ideally you can keep that between yourselves. But of
Mm,
course, you know, if there's no chance of that, and the likelihood is the family unit is going to be split, then you have to involve the children, because children are, you know, they're very clever. They pick up the vibes, they sense what's going on, they can see the difference between, you know, mum and dad, and it scares them, it frightens them, it makes them feel insecure. So you do have to include them in what's going on, but in a way that is making them feel secure, loved, cared for, and that whatever happens, hopefully, ideally, that mommy and daddy are still going to be there for them.
So, what can someone do to get to a place where they can trust again, especially if they are going to stay together? And how can the person that was the perpetrator make up for or assist in getting back to that place?
Yeah. Well, in the manuscript book, we write a section on which we call the reconciliation script. And that is about the perpetrator, and the fact that what they have to do in order to try and reconcile that relationship. Two people have to come together and they have to work together to build that trust again. First and foremost, the absolute key thing, you can't go anywhere or start to reconcile anything until you've got rid of that affair partner once and for all. And you have to do that. Absolutely no contact, no emails, no mobiles, no nothing, gone forever, gone for good. And that is the end of it. And then once you've done that, then you have to be, the perpetrator has to understand that the person you've cheated on is going to need a lot of reassurance. And there's going to be a lot of checking up and a lot of checking, maybe mobile phones and things like that, that she or he is going to need in order to start the trust process again. Now, this can cause a lot of problems because ironically, it can feel like an invasion of privacy that someone is saying, I want to see your emails, I want to see your phone. And yet, by doing this, the person who did the cheating has to understand that this is part of reconciliation. You have to build the trust. And the only way to build that trust is to accept that this is what you've got to do. Now, I'm not saying that this should go on forever. And there is a time scale to a degree, whereby the person who's been cheated on has to start to want to trust, believe that that trust is being regained. And then once they're getting more assured, and it could take a couple of years, you know, things like this you do not get over quickly. They then have to like back off from the checking scenario, because that doesn't do any relationship any good. Back off from the point, you know, maybe it's on a day to day or every couple of days, or, you know, maybe then it goes to a week, but eventually, hopefully, it sort of dissipates almost altogether.
Yeah.
But this has to be done. However, Cheryl, I do know situations whereby there has been an immediate acceptance that the affair is over and the person who's been cheated on just wants to move on and forget all about it.
Mm,
Now, that comes very much down to the individual and your personality and how you work, you know, how you deal with things. But it's not the most common way of dealing with it. You know, a lot
yeah.
all of us want to go, right, I want to trust you, but you're going to have to prove it.
Right, exactly, exactly. And like you said, it depends on the family members and the individual people, because for some people it can happen more quickly than others. For some, it may take 2, 3 years down the line. And it's a choice. You have to choose to want to trust that person again. So once you've gone through the infidelity, you're kind of back on track, whether you stayed with that individual or not. How can you get yourself to a place, number one, where you feel more empowered with yourself, and
Yeah.
then also to be able to thrive after the affair, with the aftermath of what's going on with your life?
Well, first and foremost, it's really that word you just used before about being a choice. That's the one thing. Always say that affair was a choice. It
Mm-hmm.
was not your fault. You are not to blame, and you are not to take responsibility. Once you get that it was a choice, and that, because I've seen so many people go, well, if I'd have just done this, if I'd have just done that,
Mm-hmm.
things would have been different. But the fact is, it was a choice. And one thing you've got to think about is, if that person doesn't give you the opportunity to talk about what they might be feeling in the relationship, how can you ever say, I could put it right? Because the fact you never got the chance to know. The action was taken before you were even involved. So the other part about starting to be strong in yourself is that learning to trust yourself again.
Mm-hmm.
Once you mistrust somebody else, and the fact that the usual script goes, it's all in your mind, then you start to not trust your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And how we've suggested you do that is actually think about the people who trust you. Think
Mm-hmm.
about all the people in your life that actually say, I'd really trust Cheryl, I'd really trust Julia, I'd really trust Casey, because I can, because I know that they're genuine people and that they'd be there for me. And this can start to think about yourself and go, do you know what? Yeah, I am a trustworthy person. I am honest. And if people can trust me, then I can start to trust myself. Then you've got to think about respect, and think about, were you treated with respect? And the fact is, the answer is no, you weren't. And you deserve to be. Everybody deserves to be treated with respect and
Mm-hmm.
acknowledged for the person that they are. So you go through things of like positive affirmations, like I deserve to be valued.
Mm-hmm.
I deserve to be respected. I deserve to be loved. All of these things are about empowering you with your own identity, which along the course of this infidelity absolutely gets lost along the
Yeah.
way, because you're sometimes in no man's land in your head. You don't know whether you're coming or going. You are so emotionally heightened
Mm-hmm.
that you don't really know what on earth is happening. All you do know is that you're in incredible emotional pain
Mm-hmm.
and you want to get rid of it as quick as you can. But sadly, that's not an easy thing to do. So you have to start to put yourself first and
Mm-hmm.
start to think, what do I need? What do I need in order to get through the day? And we wrote a freedom diary alongside the manuscript. I don't know whether anybody can see that, but it's called My Freedom Diary and Journal. And this was about taking you one day at a time and of how to actually recover. And so say you take today, you get up in the morning, and in it there's just a little box, and you write, today I am. So you acknowledge how you feel. The next
Mm-hmm.
box is today I will. So action is absolutely crucial to changing the way you feel and how you think. So today I will, drag myself out of bed and make sure I eat something. And the third box is today I have. So that's really your accountability for what you've done and the action you've taken to care for yourself. And the
Mm-hmm.
final little quote of the day would be say, I am really grateful for whatever it might be, the fact that I got to the end of the day and I'm still here. Because
Mm-hmm.
let's face it, Cheryl, when you're going through being cheated on, my goodness, it sometimes does make you feel like you just don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, yeah. It can be a difficult. It can be a difficult pill to swallow. I think that something you said a few moments ago about making sure that the third individual is gone. I've seen situations where the third individual did not want to go away.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, how do you work with that if that person is insistent, and you've said, I'm done, we won't have anything else to do with you or whatever, but
Oh,
how do you work through that?
yeah. Well, yes, there are some persistent people in the world who are almost, well, that's my man, that's my woman. He's not yours. She's not yours. It's mine. Even though he or she has been told, actually, it's over, finished, gone. But some people really struggle with that. Now,
Mm,
one of the ways I would say is that, first of all, it could make you question, has it really finished? Or
mm,
is there some
mm.
sort of ambiguous situation going on here whereby it is over, but I'm not going to see you anymore, but I still love you. It is all over. We can't get together, but you were the best thing I ever had. All this sort of thing
Right.
in the background. So I suggest that if you are having that situation, that you and your partner confront that person together. That you actually confront the person together who just will not let go. Because
Wow.
it's a very good way of, first of all, seeing the way your partner behaves with that
Mm,
third party. And secondly, it's a very strong front to the person who won't let go when you see the person you've been having an affair with stay with their partner, with their wife, husband, wherever it might be. And together you're saying, listen, you're not getting it, but it is over, finished, go away. Or if you continue, I'm afraid we're going to have to go the legal route and we're going to go down the harassment because that's what you're
yeah,
doing to us.
yeah.
So, you don't want to go maybe heavy handed initially, but if that person's not getting the message, you have to. You have to, so that your relationship has got a chance of actually coming together again.
Wow. Wow. That, yeah, because I've seen that happen before, and it wasn't pretty. It
Yeah,
wasn't pretty at all. So that's good advice to somebody, that you do it together so that person can see that there is a unified front and that the two of you are doing everything that you can to reconcile. So that's a great way to make that happen. So
yeah.
now all of it's done. Everything is over. You're ready to create the next chapter of your life. What do you do?
What do you do? Right. What you do, just you in your own identity, you do something that maybe you've been longing to do and have been putting off. Or you start to think, well, actually I've been really wanting to do that, but I never have the time. So somehow along the line you make time. You ask for the help of friends, maybe, that say, if you've got young children, could you just give me an hour or two so I can go and do a workout, go for a run, read a book, ring a friend, something that you feel is just for you. Because this is you may want to go out, and I don't know, if money's okay and you've got a bit over for the month, you might say, do you know what? I really want to go and buy that lipstick, or I want to go and buy I don't know, a bar of chocolate, whatever it is that makes you, do you know, whatever it is that makes you feel good, because that's what it's about now.
Yeah.
You feeling good about yourself in
Mm,
your own identity. Because I think, particularly when we've been in long-term relationships, we are part of something. And because particularly maybe in the female role, we do tend to give a lot of ourselves, particularly if children are there as well. And we're okay with that because that's what we feel our role can be part of. But after you've been cheated on, you really need to feel good about yourself. And so you have to start to think, how can I do that?
yeah.
And it's okay thinking about it. But what makes the difference, Cheryl, is you've got to take that action. And,
Hmm.
and if you need help to do that, don't be afraid to ask for help. I know that some people say that when they find out that their partner's been cheating on them, they actually don't want to let anybody else know
Hmm.
because they want to protect their bubble, if you like, and
Yes.
they don't want their partner to be seen as a bad person.
Right.
You know, I've come across that quite a bit actually.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off like that sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't finish like that.
Mm-hmm.
The bubble gets burst, depending on how the relationship goes, whether they can repair it or not. But when that happens, that person who's cheated on has a lot of internal angst. There's a lot going on in their head and in their heart, in their body, emotionally, that they're deciding to deal with entirely of their, entirely for themselves without talking it out. And that is incredibly difficult to work through. And I think what happens is sometimes you can adopt a coping mechanism, which is a little bit about denial, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that, well, yeah, okay, let's forget this. It absolutely never happened.
Right.
You can't sustain that for long, and it does take its toll. So I think when that happens, if you're one of the people that have done that or are doing that, then actually self-help books can be really helpful. You particularly if you have a Kindle, no one has to even know what you're reading. Or if you're reading a book like the manuscript and you want to put it inside a magazine, you're on the train or you're traveling or whatever it might be, no one has to know what you do. You can just do this yourself. But I would strongly recommend you just don't sit with it yourself.
Yeah.
It's too hard. Men do that, Cheryl. Men do that more than women. And I think that it's why men find it harder to get over betrayal than women do. And the reason for that is because they hold things very close. They don't want to be seen that they've been cheated on. You could say in some ways maybe the ego comes into it more. I don't, it might not, but they are not good at really saying how they truly feel, and therefore they hold on to the betrayal longer. And then of course, if they do meet somebody else, and women do this as well, and they
Mm.
had a betrayal, trusting again is really hard. And that, of course, then leads to other issues trying to have another relationship, because it can lead to possessiveness
Yeah.
and and being checked on all the time. And that person isn't your problem. The other person was, and what
Mm.
it's done to you. And therefore, you've got to be brave. You've got to be brave enough to work it out, work through it in whichever way you feel comfortable with. But don't be too brave to say, I can handle this all on my own. That is really rare.
Wow, wow, wow. So, how can someone get a copy of this book and the Freedom Book?
Okay, Amazon have got it. So you just go onto Amazon and put in the manuscript or the My Freedom Diary and Journal by Julia Keys and Jackie Coles, and you can get it on Amazon really easy.
Okay.
And the other thing I was going to say, Cheryl, and I don't know whether any of your listeners would be interested in this, but I would be very happy to help anybody free of charge if they wanted to contact me personally
Okay.
of something that they might be struggling with or whatever it might be on a relationship level. I'd be more than happy to do that. And the way to personally contact me would be julia@juliakeys.co.uk. So that's just julia@juliakeys.co.uk.
I put that in the chat box so that everybody could see that, and I will also make sure that I post that on the on my website as well and on my Facebook page. And I plan to give away a copy of both of your books so
Oh,
that somebody can benefit from that. So what I want to tell everybody is that if you're listening to this broadcast, whether it's live or whether you're going back and listening to it later, if the first person to hit me in my inbox on Facebook will make sure that you get a copy of Julia's book, The Manuscript, and then the My Freedom Diary and Journal. So, Julia, do you have anything that's coming up anytime soon?
we are hoping to do a webinar actually about the effects of the COVID virus on relationships.
Oh,
So yeah, because I don't know about the States, but over here in the UK, the divorce rate has gone up 52% since COVID came along. Now, I'm very keen to talk about this, Cheryl, because what's tending to happen is when you're in lockdown, apart from, I should say, the domestic violence and abuse also is huge, as well as the effect on children and their anxiety levels. So as a family as a whole, the COVID virus is having a huge detrimental effect. When it comes down to the relationship between you and someone else, what we're finding is that the incompatibilities that have always been there are tending to be heightened because you haven't got the distraction and because you maybe are being together 24/7. So the dynamics of your relationship have changed. And with that dynamic, you are homing in on the things that are irritating you rather than they've always been there. They just didn't irritate you as much because you had enough, you were going to work or you're doing other things and you weren't together all the time. And you coped with them that way. But now you're together, you're thinking, do you know what? We're done. I've had enough of this. I'm off. It's over. And I want to say to people who may be thinking like that, before you take that step, would you please just have a think, or even just have even one session of maybe some counseling to explore the fact that maybe for the past 10 years, yes, there are always ups and downs in relationships and there are always compromises, but it's the dynamic of the situation that's brought you to the point of calling it a day, and maybe not necessarily the fact of your relationship has hit its day. And just remember the things that you are compatible about and how things were before all this situation developed. Maybe it's worth exploring before you actually just throw the towel in. So that's what the webinar, we've just got to choose a day to do that, but we will put it on the website. So
okay, and I'm glad that you said that. So I might be having you to come back to
sure.
Conversations with Cheryl, because we were planning on doing a relationship topic on a Saturday at 11, when we're going to talk about the same thing, the pandemic and how it affects relationships. So
Yeah.
I'll get in contact with you, and it'll probably be you and maybe 3 or 4 others, and we're going to have that conversation as well. I'd love to have you back to talk about that.
Oh, I'd love to do that, Cheryl. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. Thank you. Everybody, this is Julia Keys. She is the author of The Manuscript and the My Freedom Journal and Diary. It has been a pleasure speaking to you, Julia, and I look forward to having you to come back.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Really enjoyed it. And stay well and stay safe, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Bye for now. See you guys later.
Bye.